Hey, what's going on, folks? How we doing tonight? How are we doing? Obviously, you saw from the background at the beginning, we are going to be talking with Green Bay, which only leads me to believe that we have two of our Green Bay guys. We're waiting for a third one, but he'll be here eventually, he said. But let's bring him in. Let's bring in Jason.
Hey, Adam.
I like this new look, Jay, with the camera moved back, and it looks like you're like doing work on the computer now. I like
Well, I am doing some work on the computer, so you're not too far off on that assessment there, my friend.
Oh, it looks more professional. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, hey, thanks. I try and go for the professional look every time, but what can I say? It's either hit or miss for me, regardless
This
of.
this new job making you look professional now. I like it.
Yeah, hey, professionalism. That's my middle name. What can I say?
Well, we're gonna see how professional we are tonight, talking about this team. And once again, we're bringing in the famous man cave of this team. There it is, Mark. How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. How about you guys?
I'm
Doing
good. I'm
great.
good.
And as opposed to the professional look that Jay's got going on, I've got random stuff all over my house.
Yeah, but your random stuff goes with the whole platform tonight. So your
Absolutely.
your man cave is just phenomenal. I don't care.
It's
Yes,
pretty cool.
yes, it is. A plus.
My wife likes me.
It is a bonus every time.
Yes, sir.
Um, Mark. So, how was the concert?
It was pretty doggone awesome. For those of you that don't know, I went and saw Def Leppard, Journey, and Cheap Trick about a week ago.
Nice.
We saw them at Coors Field in Denver. Cheap Trick they were Cheap Trick, so they were okay, but they were like 75 years old, so they were ready to go to the bus and take a nap by the time they were done. Journey, you can kind of tell that they don't like each other anymore, so two of their guys are original members, and they don't even go to the same side of the stage anymore, but they put on a good show. But Def Leppard was amazing. I've been a fan for 42 years, and this is the first time that the stars have aligned where I was actually able to go see them live, and they did not disappoint one bit.
Bucket list check.
Absolutely. They've been my
Um,
favorite band for a long, long time.
I've never seen Def Leppard. I know I had the
You
chance.
should.
I didn't get to see them when they were with Motley Crue last year.
Yeah.
Motley Crue and Joan Jett, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's who they were on tour with last year. This year, the opening act was either Cheap Trick or Steve Miller Band, depending on where you saw them at. But
It was
we
Steve
saw them with
Miller.
Cheap Trick. Yeah.
Steve Miller.
Yeah. For a bunch of guys that are 65 and, between 66 and 60, they still get out there and they put on a show. They don't stop. They let it go.
Jay, is this your kind of music, or what do you jam to?
Oh, I jam to. I'm a huge rock fan. Def Leppard, Metallica, Led Zeppelin, Motley Crue. Let's see, Van Halen. Let's see. In fact, my top three favorite bands of all time are Metallica, Led Zeppelin, and the Beatles. But yeah, like I just said, Van Halen, Def Leppard. I also love the Kinks. They were kind of a British rock band in the '60s. Kind of a lot of people want to say they were kind of a pawn off of the Beatles in a way, but yet they had their own style and they had their own sound. Ray and Dave Davies were the frontmen of the band. They were a good group. Actually, the last time I saw Def Leppard, Mark, a long time ago, was when they came out with Hysteria. And they went on their Hysteria tour, and I saw them. I think it was in Shoreline Amphitheater up in San Jose, and I still have great memories of that concert, just kicking ass, man. It was epic.
Yeah, they have not changed. They've changed. Well, they would have changed one band member since you saw them last, but
right,
they have not changed anything else, man.
Nice, good to know. Good to know. They've
I was joking with my wife that Vivian Campbell's the newest member of the band, and he's been there for 35 years.
Right. I always felt Def Leppard was one of those bands that was much better live than recorded, and that's saying something because they have pretty good produced rock albums, but
Yeah.
it's not like Aerosmith where they sound good on the albums and then you go see them live in person and they suck, which I thought Aerosmith did. But Def Leppard, they're just as good live, if not better, than they are on a mixed CD or an LP. So yeah, they're an outstanding live performance.
I was impressed.
Cool beans.
I got to see Creed and Three Doors Down. That was a pretty good show. I was surprised.
There you go.
I didn't think I would know too many songs, but once they start playing, you're like, oh, I know this one, then you know that one, then so
Yeah, right.
it was overall, it was a good show. I only saw Creed once, and that was at Woodstock '99. He played with Krieger. They played with Krieger on the main stage. So that was pretty cool. They played like 3 or 4 Door song from what I remember.
Oh, nice.
But that was the last time I saw. But that was the last time I saw Creed, and that was the first time I ever saw Three Doors Down. Did see Breaking Benjamin last Tuesday, and we left after Breaking Benjamin and missed Stand, unfortunately.
The last one we saw before this was Skillet we saw them in May up in Rapid City. They put on a really good show too, if you ever get a chance to see them.
Last concert I saw was Metallica out in Las Vegas. They performed in Allegiant Stadium. This was in February of 2022, I want to say. It was the last live show I went to.
Nice.
Yeah. And Metallica, they still kick some serious butt live. They are still great.
I'm sure.
I saw it. I didn't want to ever get ruined by seeing Metallica again after seeing a 5-hour encore at Woodstock.
5-hour encore. Hey, at least you got what you paid for, Adam.
That's right.
They did 4 encores. It was crazy. It was like 2:30 in the morning when they were done.
Wow.
Damn, that's even long for them.
They started at it was only like 3.5 hours. But they were the closing act on Saturday, and it was awesome. Saturday
what else did they have to do?
Nothing. Saturday was a fun lineup.
That's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, boys, I was just trying to stall time and see if Brandon got here, or Chase, but he's not here yet. So anyway.
Well, that concludes the rock music portion of our show.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we can still talk about
Maybe.
rock. It's fine. Oh man, is it still 7-0? Does anyone have the game on in the background?
It is 7-6. The Falcons have 2 field goals now. Just started the third quarter.
This game's flying.
It's going quickly.
A lot quicker than the game in Brazil.
Well, the Packers game yesterday it flew right along because Green Bay pretended to be a military academy and ran the ball every play.
Yeah, right.
That runs the clock quick.
I was gonna ask what's the give and take here, boys, between Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs.
Mark,
go ahead, Jay.
Okay. Well, so here's my take. Here's my take on the difference between Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs. So I think Josh Jacobs is more of a. I think he's a. When I say better all-around running back, what I mean is that Josh Jacobs is just as good of a runner in between the tackles as he is going to the outside. Do you want to introduce our new guest here, Adam?
Yes, we have Chase just joining us. Welcome back, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, it's good to see you again, dude. Good to be here. Ready to talk some football. I got football on in the background. I need Jalen Hurts to stop throwing touchdowns, but other than that, we'll be okay.
Did he just throw one? Chase, if you could turn the TV a little bit towards us, we'd all be able to watch.
It's kind of stuck where it is, unfortunately.
Or am I watching it off? I'm watching it off the mirror, huh?
You're watching it off the mirror, off to my left, technically. So
I was gonna say there's a pool in the way, and I'm like, I can't see it.
How we doing, everybody?
Good, good. We were just talking about
Yeah.
rock shows. If you did you go to any festivals this year, Chase, or anything? See any music? We were just talking about that.
No.
Wait, get here.
Well, we have a local little festival here in my little small town we call Aquafest, and they had that. But I've been traveling so much this summer and out of town so much, and dealing with 5 and 6 year old, and I dropped my oldest off at college just here a week or two ago. So it's been a busy time for me. So I haven't seen anything this year. I haven't seen anything for a little while actually. So
You have had a heck of a year, my
yeah,
man. And I'm
yep.
glad you're back on finally with us, talking ball with us. Um, you know, I reached out when I could to you.
Yeah, no, glad to be back. Glad to be here. Glad I could make some time for it.
Um, are you doing a play still, Chase, or you and the wife?
No, we took the year off. For those of you out there who maybe don't know or don't remember, yeah, I met my wife doing community theater. I do a lot of community theater around here, but with everything going on this summer, and like I said, dropping the oldest off at college, and then we took the year off. So I've been able to chill out and mellow out a little bit that way.
Are you still doing your show on the side too?
Oh yeah, yep. We're on every Operation Domination here on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. We are on every Wednesday night, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, and then I'm doing guest spots all over the rest of the network as well. So you can find us over at fantasysportsadvice.network. It's a brand new network. We were actually the title sponsors this year for the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio. And things are going great. It's basically a social media site without all of the politics and ads and everything else that you're used to being angry at on your social media apps. It's a social media app just for fantasy sports, fantasysportsadvice.network. So find us over there to talk some football. We've got a baseball site, basketball site. I'm on all three of them. They're active every day. You can interact with me and all your other favorite fantasy football and fantasy sports personalities. So yeah, fantasysportsadvice.network.
Are you drinking the Sunny D vodka?
What's that?
No, this is a Shiner Oktoberfest.
It looks like Sunny D.
Yeah, no, it maybe yeah. On camera, it probably does look a little bit like Sunny Delight, but no, it's a Shiner Oktoberfest. It's Oktoberfest, my favorite time of year. Oktoberfest is my kind of beer. A little bit darker, a little bit richer, a little bit more flavor to it than your typical blue and silver can. So, yeah, I'm excited about this. That was Shiner. I usually drink Shiner Bock, but the Oktoberfest is nice.
Nice. Anyway, we were just talking about the difference in that Josh Jacobs brings versus Aaron Jones to the Packers. Mark was on his thoughts. Jay was ready to go, and then you came into the show. So there you go. We're all caught up, and that's where we'll continue.
I think Jacobs is more capable of being an every down back than what Aaron Jones was. Jones can do everything, but I just don't think that he can be out there every play like what Jacobs can. That's why you had an A.J. Dillon that was so successful as a backup for Jones, because he had to come in there and take some of the load off of him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he had to come in and take some of the pounding. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think that's the main reason what attracted the Packers to Josh Jacobs in the first place is the fact that he's not only fast and elusive enough to be an east-west runner the way Aaron Jones is, but he's a better in-between the tackles runner than what Aaron Jones was. So he's actually built like a cinder block, whereas Aaron Jones is just like he's a gazelle when he gets out in the open field. So Jacobs has that ability to take more of a pounding going in between the tackles than what Jones did. And like you just alluded to, Mark, a few minutes ago, that's why they would use A.J. Dillon a lot on some of those short yardage situations, because Jones just couldn't take the pounding. And so with Jacobs, he's more adept at being an every down runner, like you said, more adept at taking some of the hits. And let's not forget, he's also very good at being a receiver out of the backfield. I think Jacobs had more than 50 or 60 catches last season with the Raiders out of the backfield. So if the Packers wanted to, and I'm sure Matt LaFleur eventually will mix it up to where we see him in an empty backfield as maybe a fourth or a fifth receiver, but he can do so many things that, while Aaron Jones was good at, couldn't do as good as Josh Jacobs can do.
No, I agree. I watch the Packers a lot. I'm a Packer fan myself, and they're both 3-down capable backs. They're both good runners, elusive, like you said. But Jacobs has that pounded factor that I don't think Aaron quite brings to the table.
Right.
And I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, yeah, Jones has been injury prone in his career. He's misses several games. Seems like every single year. Jacobs does seem to be built a little bit more for that pounding, and he brings a little bit different dimension as the starter. He brings that little bit of a dimension where you can't necessarily concentrate on stacking the box. We saw it this weekend in a game where I figured with Malik Willis throwing the ball, and I use that term loosely, throwing the ball, Malik Willis. I figured, there'd be 9 in the box. They wouldn't be afraid of him at all. And he had one of the best rushing games for the Packers in the last 30 years. So it's a nice dimension to bring, and I think it'll only be heightened when they get Aaron, or when they get Love back, when they get Jordan Love back, because now you won't be able to concentrate on him at all. You'll have to respect that pass ability. It could be a really fun offense to watch if we can get Jordan Love back healthier.
And it'll be interesting to see what they do once Marshawn Lloyd is actually ready to fit into the offense and do what he can do as well.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite running back prospects. In the run up to the draft process, I didn't necessarily expect them to take him. I don't know if anybody expected them to necessarily take somebody that profile at running back, but the things that he can do would be really fun to watch in this offense as well. But they got to get him healthy first. He's seemed like he's been battling a bug ever since he stepped into camp. So, but once they can get him on the field, then Katie bar the door, they might really have something there.
I think these 3 young receivers, and now all of a sudden you throw Wilkes on there, and I think these receivers are going to be fun to watch, just growing all together. They're going to be here a while.
I was going to say, what do you mean 3?
Well, yeah. What happened to Christian Watson?
Watson.
He was kind of invisible yesterday. Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
That is the one thing about Green Bay. Like, you don't know which receiver is going to go off.
Yeah, and just when you think you do, Tucker Kraft is going to get open down the middle, or Musgrave.
Yep. And so you're right. Well, with that group of young receivers and those young tight ends, it's pretty much Matt LaFleur has carte blanche to really do what he wants with those talented young position players. And I think out of all of those young receivers that I like the most, Christian Watson obviously has a chance to be a star. But of all the guys that I think that I'm impressed with the most, I actually like Dontavian Wicks. I really love his blend of speed and size. I think he's going to be one of those receivers that once he gets into his own, once he plays into his own, he's going to be a very tough guy to defend. And then obviously you got Romeo Doubs, who's pure speed there in the slot on the outside there. But yeah, Matt LaFleur right now probably must feel like a kid in a candy store, seeing all this talent that he has on the offensive side of the ball. These guys are not even in the primes of their careers yet. So who knows? Green Bay is still going to be able to get 4 or 5, maybe 6 good years out of these young players by the time they reach their peak. And by that time, who knows how good they're going to be.
Yeah, that was a criticism I didn't necessarily understand coming into the season. I mean, in the circles that I run in, everybody's looking for who's that alpha, who's the guy that's going to get me a bunch of targets, a bunch of catches, a bunch of points, in the fantasy realm. But not having somebody who is that, I mean, there's no clear cut CeeDee Lamb and then everybody else. There's no clear cut Jefferson and everybody else. You don't know play to play who Jordan Love is going to go to, who he can go to, because he literally can go to everybody on the field, whether it's one of the 4 receivers, like Mark mentioned, whether it's Musgrave or Kraft, whether it's the running back out of the backfield. The plethora of weapons they have, it's one of the deepest offensive skill set, groups in the entire league in terms of they can all do whatever LaFleur wants them to do in this offense. And they do have, yes, Watson can be the home run hitter. He can be, of all of them on that team, he might be the one who has the most explosive star Randy Moss type potential. But Jaden Reed can do everything. They've run the ball with him. They can throw the ball with him over the middle. Romeo Dobbs is just so consistent, such a chain mover for them. You know, every time he's going to be where he needs to be. It's so much fun to watch, and I really like that as a Packer fan. It's good to see, but it has the potential to make this offense so unpredictable because you can't key on any one given receiver on any play. So, and
Right.
when you've got an offensive line like LaFleur calling the shots, yeah, it's wide open.
Yeah.
Now, as a fantasy perspective, would you pick up Wilkes until Love comes back? Because Malik and Wilkes probably practiced a lot more being on the lower end.
I had said all off season. I said that of the offensive weapons on the team, I actively wanted pieces of Jordan Love everywhere I could because as a fantasy football guy, I don't care who Love throws it to. I care that he throws it, and he's going to throw it. From Love's perspective, I don't care if it's Wicks that catches the touchdown. I don't care if it's Musgrave or Kraft or Jacobs or who. Of the receiver, and I liked Jacobs as well because of the reasons that we've already talked about. Of the receivers, the only one I was actively targeting because of where he was going in drafts, where he was available, and the value that I felt you could get on him. The only one I was actively targeting was Christian Watson. I had him all over the place. The Jordan Love injury kind of hurts that, but I also have him as like my 3 or 4. I don't need to have him on my, in my starting lineup every week. I kind of took a lottery ticket on him. Wicks is definitely somebody that from a fantasy standpoint, people can pick up. But he's going to be, he's going to have.
I meant right now because Malik, because Willis is at the helm. I feel that them two are more on the same page because they're not full starters at the beginning of the season.
Right. So they've probably had more practice reps with each other. To the extent that Malik Willis is ever going to be on anybody's same page, I suppose Wicks and Melton and Heath probably, because he probably has thrown to them a little bit more. Wicks, like we mentioned, though, has so much physical potential anyway. I mean, there are plenty of teams in this league where he could already be the number 2, or if he were in a better situation without so many other young guys in front of him, he could definitely be a number 2 type receiver. He's worth picking up and worth stashing on people's benches because, especially if, as seems to have been the case, unfortunately, in the first couple of years of his career, if and when Christian Watson decides to miss some time, Wicks is the one that I like to be able to step into his role. And then, like I said, that's the role, that's the potential star maker role in that offense if there is one. So he's definitely worth a pickup in fantasy if he's still out there on your waiver wires.
One more quick question on fantasy. With Pacheco injury, who do you go after, Steele or Prene?
I'm not necessarily sold on Carson Steele yet. He was the preseason darling, and preseason darlings, we've seen a ton of them. We see them every single season in almost every single city in the league. A preseason darling that everybody thinks is going to have a big role once the year starts, and then actual football happens, and that guy goes back down to being the 3rd, 4th string and the practice squad call-up occasionally. With all the injuries and all the situations that they have, though, they have a major need for some weapons because Edwards-Helaire is still going to be out for several more weeks. Now they're talking about missing possibly 2 months of Pacheco. We know that Hollywood Brown is out for the regular season here. They're dropping like flies. They already let Kadarius Toney go. He was picked up by the Browns on their practice squad. No idea if they'll bring him back or not, but of the two, between the two, I tend to lean Pirine just because he's been in the league more. He's more of an established running back. He has done it before where he's carried the load in short bursts of time. And I believe he'll be the one to get the receiving work out of the backfield for them. Steele, again, is worth a speculative pickup. I wouldn't spend too much on him if you've got fab budget or whatever. But between the two of them, I think Pirine is the one who can more seamlessly fit back into what they want to do. He's a good receiving running back, but he also can run the football if and when they decide to hand it to him. Steele's going to have to take some work for them, though, because they've lost a ton of guys here so far in the early going.
What
Okay.
I've read is that Steele's going to be the early down back, and P. Ryan's going to be the third down receiving back. But living where I live, being force fed the Broncos all the time, I saw a lot of Samaje P. Ryan last year, and he's not it.
No,
I'll
he's
just
not.
leave it
He's
at
not
that.
anybody's idea of a long term. He should not be anybody's idea of a long term.
Yeah,
He's
he's
a
not what he
backup.
used to be.
No, there was actually some talk that they were going to be bringing in Kareem Hunt today. I didn't see if it went down or not, but there was talk that Kareem Hunt was going to be in town for a talk with them. Of course, he started his career with the Chiefs. That could be a big pickup for them because he already would have some familiarity with what they do. So, and in that case, he'd probably be the one of the three that I would prefer.
Yeah.
So back to these receivers. How high do you have them, knowing that this ball is going to be thrown around? How many touchdowns did you guys predict in the beginning of the season, or how did you guys break it down? Obviously, we did not have our Green Bay talk this year. I'm not really sure why. I think my rec threw everything off.
I actually grabbed Jaden Reed as a late round pick in my draft, and I have him sitting on my bench. But with the way that they utilized him on Sunday, giving him the ball out of the backfield, handing it to him on end arounds and that kind of thing, I think that he has the potential to get some yards, and he has the potential to score every time he's got the ball. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 7-8 touchdowns out of him.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. 7-8 touchdowns for Jaden Reed would be a good number. I also think that could be a realistic number for Romeo Doubs as well. It's going to come down to three things. Number one, it's going to come down to are all these young receivers going to be comfortable with sharing the load? Meaning, are all these young receivers going to be comfortable with not one player being the Jerry Rice, not one player being the Chris Carter, who gets thrown the ball 75, 80% of the time? Number two, it's also going to come down to comfortability in the offense. When Jordan Love comes back, which receiver is he going to be the most comfortable throwing the ball to? The one that he's going to rely on the most to throw the ball to? Conventional wisdom would tell you that would be Christian Watson, because he's played with him a little bit longer and knows him a little bit better, but that could also change. And then, health aside, I think the third thing that will determine that as well is to see how Matt LaFleur's offense develops over the course of the season. How will his offensive scheme be effective with a combination of Wicks and Dobbs and Reed versus a combination of, say, Reed and Watson and Wicks? So it's going to constantly be a mix and match game for the Packers all season long. But like you just said, Mark, I agree with you on the over-under there for Reed's touchdowns. I'm predicting about the same for Romeo Doubs. I don't think any of these receivers are probably going to get more than 11 or 12 touchdowns this season, just because you got to spread the wealth. You got to find a way to keep everybody happy. So they can expect to share the load there to some degree or two.
Yeah, if I was a betting guy, I'd probably put the bet on Reed to lead them in touchdowns, just because, like Mark said, of the way that they have used him. He's got two potential avenues to get there. They will hand him the ball in the red zone. They'll hand him the ball in the open field, but they'll hand him the ball in the red zone. They will also throw the ball to him all over the place. He plays in a slot. He plays up. They can move him around the formation a bit. And, being the guy that runs some of those underneath routes for them, he may end up being a bit of a safety blanket for as long as Malik Willis has to be in there. Watson, we've seen go off on tremendous, stretches. He had that 4-game stretch in his first year as a starter where, 8 touchdowns in 4 weeks there. It was crazy. And Dobbs just seems to be consistent. Every other week he's probably going to catch one. So he'll probably top out about 7, 8, 9 touchdowns. But if I had to put a bet on anybody to lead them in terms of a receiving core, it'd probably be Reed, just because of the way that they use him and the way that they are willing to deploy him all over the field. He has more avenues to get there.
Right.
And the good thing is that all of them have said the right things. They've all said that it doesn't matter who's getting the ball as long as the team is winning. So we'll see if that carries through to when it comes contract time. But right now, they're all saying the right things.
Do you think that's planned, or do you think they're all saying it?
I think they actually all believe it, just by the interactions that I've seen with them and the things that I've heard about. the players in Green Bay and how they interact with each other. Everything that I have seen makes me believe that this team just wants to grow together. They want to be a solid team together, and they're making it happen.
Yeah, outside of Jacobs being the big free agent acquisition, these guys are all still really young, and the tight ends were well regarded coming out, but none of these guys was a top 12 type, expected to step into the league and be a star right away. So you don't necessarily have that. They didn't necessarily bring that diva mentality into the league.
Right.
Doesn't mean that they won't maybe, like you said, catch it. But let's hope that bug doesn't go around the locker room anytime too soon, because they are so young, and that's part of what's going to allow them to win in the next couple of years here. Now that Love has been paid and they're not getting Love, they're not going to have Love on that sweet opening salary, quarterback salary like so many teams in the league try to do. The fact that the rest of them are so cheap is what's going to allow them to be able to compete here for the next few years. And there's no guarantee when you go other places. I mean, they can ask previous Packer receivers who have skipped town. There's no guarantee when you go elsewhere that the grass is going to be any greener. Your paycheck might get a little bigger, but the grass may not be as green. So I'm hoping that they don't get that attitude.
We all do the same thing here in Pittsburgh too.
Yeah,
like
it's
they leave
been
and get
true for
paid.
them.
I mean, granted, Schuster got the holding call and got a Super Bowl out of it. But I mean, other than that, what Antonio Brown?
Nada.
Yeah, you can't think of too many receivers that go elsewhere, except for maybe a name like Randy Moss.
Yeah, but he went everywhere and he was successful.
He was such
except for
once in a lifetime talent. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a little bit different talent than some of these guys, but we've seen plenty of guys that go elsewhere, and just don't have. They when they find out that they're not with the same guy that they grew up catching the ball from, or they don't have that connection with the quarterback, or they're not in an offense that wants to call the ball for the receiver or whatever else. Yeah, it sometimes it's a little bit of Schadenfreude. It's kind of nice to step back and see it happen to a guy when he's been running his mouth a little bit. But I'm hoping that these four seem sincere, and I think that it feels like they have a decent relationship all with each other and with Love himself. And LaFleur is still a young enough head coach that it feels like he connects with his players, and that he might be able to keep a lid on that for a while.
The way you were talking, Chase, I was wondering when you were going to actually say Greg Jennings, but you never actually spit those two words out.
Trying to keep that in. Greg Jennings, Javon Walker, a couple guys like that. Yeah, speaking of the Broncos, yeah, there have been several guys that have gone elsewhere and have not had. Jordy Nelson, for that matter. I mean, he didn't force his way out of town, but I think Nelson, Adams, Jennings, like you said, Javon Walker back. Those guys have not found. They have not found the skating any easier outside of those on Green Bay. So.
Alan Lazard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mark,
a lot.
Yeah. Last week notwithstanding, but
to a degree, Scantling. But I mean, he was fairly effective in Kansas City when he went there. But still, he never really was kind of a big game breaker. I think the way they thought he was going to be when they got him.
Right.
I think that a lot of people wanted him to be that replacement for Tyreek Hill, forgetting that MVS's whole shtick is, I'm just going to outrun everybody. You throw it up and I'll drop it 3 times out of 4. Tyreek Hill's game is not necessarily, he's faster than everybody, but his game is a lot more catch it underneath and then outrun people. Tyreek Hill is much more likely to take a slant or a 10-yard in for the distance as he is to run just a straight 9 route and catch it over everybody's head. Whereas MVS is pretty much a one-trick pony, and he's not that great at that trick, more often than not.
Exactly.
Yep.
I agree. You guys talk about Jordy now. He was one of my favorite Packers by far.
I love Jordy.
Oh, Jordy was great. Jordy was a baller. The guy knew his role on the team. He never argued about it. He didn't care about getting 90 or 100 catches a season. He was never afraid to go over the middle of the field, make the tough catch, get nailed on the lower spine for it either. Yeah, in some ways, he kind of reminded me of the old 49ers tight end Brent Jones. And I know that Jordy didn't play tight end. He was a wide receiver. But the reason I say that is because, again, like Brent Jones, he had no fear of going over that middle of the field and making that tough catch and taking the tough hits. So knew his role on the team. Oh, and by the way, he had other great skills too. He was extremely fast on the outside. And if he broke his defender 5 yards out, I mean, forget about it. He was gone. So Jordy, I think in my estimation, Jordy was an underrated wide receiver when he played. He got overshadowed by so many other guys, but I think he was underrated and he did when he was with Green Bay.
Jordy was the one that allowed Rodgers to go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, and yet he never lost that Kansas farm boy mentality.
Nope,
right.
Not at all.
Hard work. He was the one who allowed Rodgers to kind of perfect that back shoulder throw that everybody talks about and everybody tries to throw now, that where you get that guy to stop, you throw it to his back shoulder kind of thing. Jordy was the one who kind of allowed Rodgers to work that and build that into his repertoire and then literally pass it down to Devontae Adams and going forward.
Right.
Yeah, Nelson he was so unbelievably skilled. He was underrated as an athlete, but just his toughness and the mentality that he brought to a team and then to game day, I think, he was a lot of people's favorite around here, Ed. You're not alone in that one.
Yep.
What was it? Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings, right?
Yep. Yeah.
To start,
Greg Jennings. Yep. They were the two main guys.
Bubba Franks was in that tandem.
Donald Driver.
Yes.
Yep. Donald Driver was a great one too.
Yep. Yeah, we've had some good receivers come through.
You know, fantasy football made a lot of names.
Yeah. That's where a lot of people learned a lot of those names.
Like, I wouldn't know these names if I didn't draft them.
Yeah.
Like why would I care what goes on in the rest of the NFL if it wasn't for fantasy football?
That's the way a lot of people see it.
And now
I think it's one reason the NFL's embraced fantasy football and to some extent now betting as well. I think they've embraced it a lot more because I think they realize that there is a significant portion of their fan base that's been brought to the game, and not just brought to the game, but now highly engaged with the product because of fantasy football, and now with streaming services, and everybody's got it in their pocket on their phone and everything else. But yeah, fantasy football players tend to be highly engaged fans of the league, not necessarily just of one specific market, one specific team. And so I think that's only helped the NFL grow its product and make more money, which we all know is what their end game is anyway.
Like,
for me, it goes back to,
good.
I was just going to say, for me, it goes back to when I was a kid, collecting football cards. I would sort those cards, and if a player changed teams, which didn't happen as much back then as it does now, I would move them to the new team. And I did the same thing with baseball cards. And I tried to keep track of who was where. And I would get the Sporting News every week, and I would just scour those transactions, looking to see who went where. And if there was a backup defensive tackle for the Falcons, I knew where he was at and where he was going. And I'm not as able to keep up with it now as an adult, but man, when I was a kid, that was my life. Every Wednesday afternoon, I would walk from the middle school to our local drugstore, which was the only place that sold the Sporting News. I would go down there on the day that it came out, and I would buy that thing, and that would be my Bible for the next 2 or 3 days until I got through it.
Yeah.
I miss the Sporting News. Great publication.
I do too.
Yeah.
All right, Chase, I have
Ad, do you even remember the Sporting News?
I do.
What's that?
Okay. I was just asking if Ad remember the Sporting News or not. I mean, young buck there. Yeah, no, I remember Sporting News and Sports Illustrated. Yeah, getting all of those in the
Baseball Weekly and Baseball Digest.
Right.
Oh.
Well, I was a baseball card collector more when I was younger.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
too.
would do the same thing. I would sort through those things and I would read the backs of those things. I used to know dudes' birthdays and everything else like that, just from scouring over those just hour after hour after hour every day.
And especially with my Royals, if they got a new player, I would search as much as I could to try to find a card of that player.
Yep.
So I had a Steve Foucault card from 1977 from the Tigers because the Royals picked him up for like 5 games in 1979.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it. I remember getting the Burketts. Did you guys get the Burketts to look up how much their cards were?
Oh yeah. Beckett week,
Beckett.
Beckett
The
monthly. Yep.
Beckett's.
Yep.
Card price guide. Yep. That's wild now too to think about that. Some of the
Yeah, right. No kidding.
Now that's all next door. My daughter's got her football, baseball card shop in her basement now that she sells out of.
Oh really? That's awesome.
Yeah, she sells on
really
eBay.
That's
Oh, cool.
awesome.
Did she go to card shows more?
Yeah, she does. Last spring she went to a show in Dallas, and I don't know. She spent thousands of dollars on cards and just brought back boxes and boxes that she has gone through, and they've listed on eBay, and they're making a business out of it.
That's awesome.
And I'm proud of her.
Especially all the PSA 10s and everything. I mean, holograms.
Yeah.
Cars are way more expensive than they were back in the day. Holy cow!
Yep.
Like I remember
yeah.
getting a Lemieux Platinum. And I was like, yeah. Now that car's like nothing.
They didn't have any of that platinum crap when I was growing up, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the jersey swatches and then everything else that comes in the pack now. Yeah. Oh, this is a shred of a game used football from week 3 of the 2023 season. But great. Yeah.
We got our pack of tops, and we were happy to do it and scrape the gum residue off the back
Right.
card.
I was excited to find an all-star.
And we chewed the stale gum. We didn't care how stale it was. We still
Yes,
chewed
sir.
the shit.
Yep. Yeah. With wax on it and everything else. Yep.
Yep.
Oh my god! Speaking of the steel gum, when I ordered my dugout mugs, right here. Oh, you guys can't see them. That are right there.
Nice.
They sent. I still have the packs. They're sitting over there. I didn't open them yet, but they sent me 1989 Topps card, and on the they sent them in plastic, and they're still in the wrap. So I have no idea. There might be a Griffey Jr. in there. I'm not sure. But they sent it, and they're like, "Do not eat the gum."
Why? It's still as fresh as the day it was packed in there. We might as well.
That's right.
Like,
Probably
like
tastes
a
the
Twinkie.
same.
That thing will outlast us.
One of my fondest baseball card memories is when every kid my age wanted to get that. I think it was the 91 Fleer Billy Ripken Orioles card where it said "fuck you" on the knob.
Yeah. On the knob.
I remember the
For
very
so much money now.
the very
card
first day that we found out about that card, at least 50 or 60 kids after school went to the closest baseball card store to get every single pack of Fleer cards to open it up. And I shit you not, of all the kids, me included, that were there that opened up we bought like maybe 5 or 10 packs just to get that Billy Ripken card. All of us walked out not getting the Billy Ripken card. We were so pissed.
Mm-hmm.
We spent all the money on those packs of cards just to get Billy's card, but none of us got it. So that's one of my fondest memories.
Well, and then there was the big uproar after that because they tried about 18 different ways to like cover it up. So there's all the variations of that card with the knob of the bat scribbled over and blacked out and black box and white
There's
box.
a white out.
And,
Yep.
They tried so many. There was that mass panic probably at Fleer to jump on that and get rid of that after everybody had heard about it. And that was before the internet. Can you imagine nowadays there'd be no sense in trying to cover it up because everybody'd have it out there. The screenshots would live forever anyway, as they do now anyway.
Right. Yeah, they definitely would.
And yet, if you go back to the early 70s, I don't know if you guys know about this one. There was a player named Aurelio Rodriguez, and at the time he was with the Angels. Early 70s, there's a card of him where the picture is the Bat Boy. Nobody's ever corrected it.
Yeah, Aurelio later played with the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Yeah.
Those are the fun ones to look back on. There's a
Yeah.
card of Bob Uecker. Of course, he's near and dear to my heart as a Brewer fan, but there's a card of Bob Uecker posing, and he's just got the biggest grin on his face because on the card he's posing, batting left-handed, and of course he was a right-handed batter, but he took his card photo that year. He knew it was his card photo that year, so he took it batting left-handed, just to take the piss with the photographer there. I love finding that kind of stuff. Or there was the I think it was a scorecard of Nolan Ryan throwing a football in pregame warmups. one year that ended up being his
Yeah.
main card. And yeah, just that kind of fun stuff is what always kind of kept drawing me back to baseball cards.
I think my favorite of Euchre is the year that he and Bob Gibson held hands during the Cardinals team photo.
during the team photo.
And
right
they got fined for it.
Well, especially and in the '60s, it was a white guy and a black guy holding hands for one, for two guys, and it was the '60s. But for three, it was the official team photo, and they were in the front row, and they're both just cracking up about it. You could see, I
love it.
And Gibson did not smile a whole lot in public, but he
No.
was smiling for that one because how can you not when you're holding hands with Bob Euchre?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a great story.
There's so much to catch up on. I didn't even your opinion on them merging the stats. What did you think about that?
Which one here?
Since we're on baseball, what did you think of them merging the stats with the?
Oh, with the Negro leagues and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Why not? In terms of making those like major league records, the major leagues is a different league. It's its own league. But the Baseball Hall of Fame is the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily maybe I'm wrong, but it's not the Major League Baseball League Hall of Fame. It's the Baseball Hall of Fame. And so if you want to talk about it from that perspective, heck yeah. Sadaharu O had over 800 home runs playing in Japan his entire career. You're telling me he couldn't have come over to the United States and hit a bunch of fastballs over the fence? I mean, we've seen guys from the Japanese pro leagues, Ichiro and Otani and a bunch of others do it. So I have no problem with them combining guys' stats in that way. But for that matter, I mean, if you want to look at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is primarily an NFL thing, but I mean, Warren Moon threw for more yardage than just about anybody who ever played the game, who ever lived, if you count all of his professional stats together. Yeah. I'm fine if they want to do that. That kind of stuff is more fan fodder. If anybody who's in the know understands who these guys were, how good these guys were. You don't have to see a guy's name at the top of the home run list to know how good he was. You don't have to necessarily see, Barry Bonds' name at the top or in second place or with an asterisk or whatever else to know what kind of hitter he was if you watched him. The same way that you don't have to see Hank Aaron's name up there to still understand how great that man was. If you take the totality of Hank Aaron's stats, I mean, he was more than just a home run hitter. So yeah, that doesn't bother me to watch them, to see them bring those stats in. If anything, if it helps shine a light on some of those guys for younger people or people who aren't necessarily students of the game to understand that, the importance of those players from the Negro Leagues and elsewhere, I'm all for it. It doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Mark, I don't know if we ever got your opinion. Were you on the show? I forget.
No, I wasn't, but yeah, I would agree with that. I have no issues with it at all. Some of the things you have to understand who they're playing against, and you have to judge, how the difference that makes. I've got a buddy who was the pitcher of the year in Japan for 2 years in a row, but he was never all that successful as a Major League Baseball player. And that reflects the competition that he was going against. Now, I'm not saying that I know what the Negro Leagues was and what the competition was, but you have to take into account, like you said, that's a different league as opposed to what Major League Baseball is. You're looking at not really apples and oranges, but apples and something that's not an apple. But, those guys, they did play baseball at a very high level. And one of the regrets that I have is the times that I've been to Kansas City, I haven't been to the Negro Leagues Museum. I've always been there on a weekend when they were not open for one reason or another and not able to get there. But that's one of the things that I want to do when I get to Kansas City again sometime, is go through there and see the Josh Grays and see some of the people that were the best players of that era. Satchel Paige.
Yeah, my dad still. My dad the famous Satchel Paige quote about "never look back, something might be gaining on you" and all those.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the fact that man played for as long as he did too, and really only made it to the major leagues after his peak was past, and still was able to be effective. But
Yeah. And we
yeah,
truly don't even know how old he was because they never really verified his birth certificate.
You're right.
Nope.
Yeah, the record keeping from his youth was and because of who and where he came from. Yeah.
But that's kind of like Fernando Valenzuela. He was like a 40-year-old man as a rookie.
He had a rocking chair in the bullpen eventually, towards the end of his career.
Who's that?
Didn't Satchel Paige have the rocking chair in the bullpen towards the end of his career?
Yeah.
I think he might have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was that kind of dude apparently, which is cool.
Yep. He was entertaining.
Three teams are going to be probably rocking in postseason. Jay, you're scared to death out there in Los Angeles with your team.
Yeah, I'm just gonna cut to the chase right now. Dodgers are gonna be a first round exit, and if they're not a first round exit, they're gonna be a division series exit. When you look at their lineup with Shohei and Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, a healthy Max Muncy, a healthy Teoscar Hernandez. On the exterior, you say to yourself, what are you talking about, Jason? How can you say they're going to be a first round exit? How can you say they're going to be an early October exit again? Well, here's the reason why. The two reasons why. Number one, their philosophy. They live, breathe, and die analytics. That's what's been their Achilles heel every October. Number two, first and foremost, Dave Roberts does not know how to manage a bullpen. I heard this not too long ago. I think it was in an interview that either Bruce Bochy gave or an interview that Buck Showalter, former great manager, gave an interview one time, and he was asked, it was on MLB Network, he was asked, what do you think makes a great manager better in October? And he said, here's what makes a great manager better in October. It's called your gut. It's called your instincts, and it's called your knowledge. It's called managing to the situation of the game, because when you get into the postseason, you're not just playing to play the next day. You're playing as if you're managing every single out, as if you're managing every single at-bat like it's going to be your last out and your last at-bat. And from that standpoint, you can't rely on numbers spit out by a laptop computer to tell you this is how to manage a postseason game. And I thought Buck hit the nail right on the head. And the reason I bring that up is because Dave Roberts does exactly that. Dave Roberts is too reliant on the numbers and the analytics to manage in October. He does not know how to manage the strategy. He does not know how to manage the situation. And it's also asinine when you think that right now, Dave Roberts is actually the winningest manager in all of Major League Baseball amongst active managers. He has the highest winning percentage. But again, one of the reasons, not the reason, but one of the reasons why they always bow out every October is because of his managing style. It's not conducive to winning baseball in October. I think the real reason why they're going to bow out this year is just their pitching depth. I mean, aside from Yoshinobu Yamamoto and aside from, who was the guy I was just thinking of? Not Stone, because he went on the IL. Where are they going to get their outs? They're not going to get them from Bobby Miller with his 8.67 some odd ERA. They're not going to get him from Clayton Kershaw. They're not going to get him from Tyler Glasnow. I think Glasnow's done for the rest of the season, to be honest with you. So they only have two pitchers in their rotation that can comfortably get you. Oh, Flaherty and Yamamoto. That's the guy I was thinking of. Beyond Flaherty and Yamamoto, who's going to get you the big outs when you need them? And and today or earlier this week, they were quoted as saying, well, we have all the arms in the bullpen that we can use to divvy up the innings. And the problem is that bullpen's already taxed. They've already had guys, at least 5 or 6 guys in that bullpen throw at least 90 innings or more. And that is a lot of innings to put on a lot of arms and a lot of short inning situations there. So the Dodgers, if they're going to win in October, they're going to have to outslug everybody. And the problem with that is they're just not a consistent enough offensive club to do that. And if Mookie and Freddie show up this October the way they showed up, didn't show up last October, again, it's going to be another big swan song. And all I can say is that if the Dodgers do bow out early again this October, Andrew Friedman and Dave Roberts are running out of excuses really fast. So I don't have a lot of optimism for them. And look, just because I'm a diehard fan of my Dodgers doesn't mean I can't be subjective about them every now and then. When I look at them on paper, I say, hey, yeah, that's great. They're a good team. But when I look at them, when I watch them with the eyeball test, I'm just not seeing it. Also, I'm not seeing something that we should be seeing this time of year from great teams. Where's the spark coming from? Which players are out there pumping their fists when they stretch a single to a double? Which players are out there pumping their fists and jumping up and down when they make a shoestring catch, or they're diving against the outfield wall, smashing against that canvas, robbing a player of a home run? There's no fire in that dugout. There's no passion in that dugout. And some of that falls upon the manager and the coaching staff. So they got to find a way to get some fire going into that dugout heading into October, and I just don't see it. So, yeah, I'm going to be ranting left and right on Twitter when they do bow out again. Just between us here, I look at the San Diego Padres right now, and to me, they are the most complete team heading into October of any team in Major League Baseball. They have it. They have the offense from 1 to 9. There's no easy out in that lineup, especially now that Tatis is back. Their bullpen, Mark, I think the Padres can turn a postseason series into a la Kansas City Royals in 2015. If they can get their starter to go at least 4 2/3 or 5 innings, they can bring in a combination of Jason Adam. They can bring in Tanner Scott. They can bring in Robert Suarez. They can bring in a la Kelvin Herrera, a la Wade Davis, a la Aroldis Chapman. Yeah, they can. If they can turn it into a 6-inning game every single series, it's going to be a long October for all the other teams. And so when I look at the Padres objectively, 1 through 9 with their offense, their defense is okay. It's not great, but it's good enough to win them some clutch games. I just think they're the most complete team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win it all this season.
Do we see Ohtani pitch at all this postseason, do you think? There have been rumors lately. Being somebody that follows the Dodgers, do you buy those rumors or no?
I buy the rumors. I mean, when you look at how thin they are in their rotation, they may have no choice but to pitch him. Do I think they should? No, because he's still technically rehabbing from the Tommy John surgery he had. And I think if they were to put him in there, even in a relief role, they are playing with a loaded gun. Because if he goes out and gets injured again, not only are you losing Ohtani, the pitcher, next season, you're also losing Ohtani, the hitter, next season.
Exactly.
So you got to look at it from that angle too. But again, like I said, I'm buying the rumors because outside of Jack Flaherty and Yamamoto, they're not going to be able to get reliable outs from anybody. So they may have no choice but to pitch Ohtani, even if they bring him in out of the bullpen.
Yeah, it's a first world problem to have when you've got the most valuable asset in baseball, but also the most expensive. And like you said, right now, do you keep those bullets in the gun and live to shoot another day, or do you spend them all now and with the risk that comes with that? But
yeah, exactly. It's I'll tell you what, it's a problem I'm glad I'm not dealing with. I'll just say that.
they have to feel pressure in that bullpen because or not just the bullpen, that dugout period, because I mean, like you said, they're not just the front office. I mean, the front office has spent money. They've brought guys in. They've spent a lot of money if they're just going to keep getting knocked out. And, 90 plus regular season wins all the time and all that is great, but you want to see something to pay it off when you're spending that kind of money. I mean, I know we're frustrated enough here in Milwaukee because we can't seem to get out of the first round of the playoffs ever. But we're not spending near the cash that you guys are for essentially the same payoff. Well,
and something else too is that when Mark Walter, the principal owner, bought this club from Frank McCourt, after he was forced to sell the team by Major League Baseball back in 2013, he deliberately brought in Stan Kasten, who was the principal chairman of the Dodgers, of their front office. And Stan sold him on the fact that, hey, we're going to build with analytics. We're going to win with analytics. We're going to bring you long-term, long sustained success, which they have done. The Dodgers, before, even back when McCourt owned them and they were having some strings of success with Frank McCourt, they still weren't a relevant team. And this ownership group has done a good job of making the Dodgers a relevant product once again. But the problem is that the bill of goods they sold the fan base hasn't equated to victories in October, which they say every year we're in it to win it. Well, yeah, that's great. As a ball club, the Dodgers have averaged 93.5 wins every season for the last 12 years. But yet again, when we get to October, exactly boopkiss. They're in it to win it. So they still haven't found a way to translate the analytics and their philosophy into postseason success in October. And therein again lies the problem. I find it no coincidence that the Texas Rangers won last season, because Bruce Bochy, who was one of the greatest in-game strategists of any manager in the history of baseball, was able to find a way to piece together that puzzle, find the combinations that worked, and put them in there, regardless of what the analytics said. Torey Lovallo, the manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks. There's a reason why the Diamondbacks went all the way. One of the reasons why Lovallo is the same way. He's a very good in-game strategist. You see him actually scribbling notes out there, trying to figure out who to mix and match, whereas Dave just sits back and does this all day.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Well, we paid you guys. Go play. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and my belief is this: if the Dodgers do bow out early in October again this season, I really think that this is where the rubber's going to meet the road with Mark Walter, the owner, because he is also getting sick and tired of excuses from the front office. If they bow out early, I think he is going to sit them down, and I think he's going to say, Andy, Stan, Doc, let's have a little talk here. All right, we've done it your way. Let's try doing it my way. He's still going to open the pocketbook, but I think that we're going to see a shift in philosophy here with the organization if they come up short again. But I've been on a rant here for the last 8 minutes. Mark, you go on. I'm sorry.
You know, Adam, here's the deal. You and I understand this probably better than anybody. The Royals went to the playoffs 7 out of 10 years from 1976 to 1985. We didn't go back for 29 years. So I love sitting back listening to Dodger and Yankee fans bitch about getting out of the playoffs in the first round. And we're just happy to be there, man.
Hells yes. Thank you for calling me out.
For people to see Bobby Witt Jr. play in the playoffs. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Listen, I loved watching
All the
the
Pirates
Royals
guy can say is yeah.
Yeah, I loved watching the Royals win the World Series. It just was frustrating that they did it with a bunch of Milwaukee Brewers pieces that we had, given you guys.
Thank you for that, by the way.
You're very welcome. And then we got to, have Lorenzo Cain after the fact.
Right.
But yeah, it was nice to see. It's nice to see for real fans of the game. I know baseball hates it when a team like Kansas City, Milwaukee, the smaller markets bubble up that way. And then basketball hates it as well. Baseball hates it, but the fans, I think, actually like it. Not the casuals. The casuals are never, but the casuals are the casuals for a reason. People who actually like to watch the game and know the game like to see those smaller market teams bubble up to the top and have a little bit of a sustained run, and like to watch the Twins have success, like to watch the A's, every once in a while have some success, like to see the Royals. And it doesn't bother us to watch. I mean, it doesn't bother me to watch the Cubs lose anyway, but to see the major market teams, like you just said, the Yankees and the Dodgers complain about the idea that they can't, their pocketbooks didn't get them a World Series.
And I love to point out that the Royals have been to the World Series twice since the last time the Yankees were there.
Yeah. Yes, they have. Yep. They went in people forget they went in 2014 and lost to the Giants in that series, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah, they did.
And just to go back and touch a little bit on the Packers, I equate those 2014 and 15 Royals teams to what the Packers are right now. They're a bunch of young guys who didn't know how good they were.
Right.
Didn't know they weren't supposed to play as well as they were playing.
Didn't know any better. Yeah.
Yep. And they just went out and they love each other. They still do to this day. I watched a podcast the other day with Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas talking to George Brett. That was some of the funniest stuff I have seen in a long time. But those guys still love each other. And Salvador Perez, he's still playing.
Yeah.
Those guys built a family in those 2 seasons, and they have carried that on. And that's not something that you see with a team a team that's bought like the Yankees or what the Dodgers do. These guys all came up through the minors together.
Yep.
Well, while the Dodgers have spent money, I would also like to add that a lot of the players they've had on their rosters over the years have also been homegrown talent as well. Clayton Kershaw, homegrown. Yeah. Bellinger, homegrown.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, Will Smith, homegrown talent. So, but by and large, though, as far as getting the players they need to get them over the hump, i.e. the Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani's, that's where they've broken the bank. So, yes, you're right on that.
Yeah.
Bringing in the Hernandez's and things like that to play for. Yeah, they've been
Mhm.
bringing guys in from outside to try and push them over that
Yeah.
hump there, and they can do that. They can do that multiple times. They can spend money on multiple guys to get them over the top. Whereas a team like Pittsburgh, like Milwaukee, like Kansas City, ad nauseum, that they can only push over the top with. They can only afford to do that with one guy, two guys, maybe. Even if they have money to spend, because you're not necessarily getting a lot of guys that would rather go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to play in October as opposed to playing in October in Los Angeles, Miami.
I'll tell you though, I've watched plenty of the Brewers play this year, and I got to tell you, I love the way they play the game of baseball. They are an exciting team to watch play, and even if they bow out again early this year, they have a good future ahead of them there with Jackson Chourio leading the way. But that team, they put the ball in play, which is something you don't see a lot of in this game anymore.
Yeah.
And roping them back around to the Green Bay Packers here, because we initially started talking about Packers. I think the Brewers in some ways are kind of like the Packers. They have a lot of young talent that's just blossoming into its own. And within the next couple of years, let's just say this, they're going to be at the top for a very long time, at or near the top for a long time.
If Pittsburgh would pay for a couple bats, we probably would have a really good pitching rotation if we could get some bats for those pitchers.
And they should.
The future in Pittsburgh is bright because of those pitchers, because of schemes, because of Jared Jones. They're going to be a wagon if they can, if that offense, if they can get that figured out here. And you've got some guys on the offensive side to be able to build around as well. If they can supplement that in any way, shape, or form with those young pitchers, but that window will close pretty quick. You don't want Skeens and Jones to turn into Corbin Burns like the Brewers had to do.
Yeah.
But no, the future could be very bright in Pittsburgh. I know that they were a little disappointed with how things have gone this time.
And that's why I love that the Royals have signed Bobby Witt for as long as they have. Yes. They've got him for 11 years for sure, up to 13 with the options. So, he's going to be mid-30s before he gets done with that contract. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be Salvador Perez. He's not going anywhere. That's one of the things that Kansas City has done better than a lot of other teams have done. They've had the George Bretts, the Frank Whites, the Alex Gordons, some of those guys who played their entire careers in Kansas City and
get there, yeah.
For the most part didn't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah. That's always nice to see too, is when you've built that kind of a culture where
right.
guys like the city, they like the franchise, they feel at home there.
Right.
I know that Brewer fans have been frustrated with Christian Yelich and his injury situations here over the last 3-4 years, which have been not any fault of his own. But the fact that he was willing to sign that kind of a contract and stay here and said that he likes Milwaukee, and they've had other guys that have said the same thing, have done the same thing. The Packers likewise have had guys who have said that they enjoy the area and want to be part of the area. AJ Dillon may never play another down for them, but he's the mayor of Door County because he has embraced the area. That's a nice thing to see that you don't necessarily get with the Miamis and New Yorks and Chicagos of the world, because guys are going there because it's a destination for different reasons rather than a home necessarily. And so, that is neat to see those guys, like you said, from the Royals World Series team who still, feel that camaraderie, even though by and large, they've literally all gone their separate ways since then. It's nice to see them find each other again too.
One last quick thing about the Packers guys before I actually have to leave. I have to go somewhere here soon. But one last thing. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, let's say Malik Willis here goes on a bit of a run, comes out and channels his inner Don Mikowski here.
No.
Okay.
Whatever
Go ahead and ask your question now.
Okay. Where I'm going with this is, if Malik Willis catches lightning in a bottle here, by the time Jordan Love comes back, do we have a quarterback controversy on our hands?
I stand by my answer.
Okay.
No, but they may have a much more valuable commodity come the off season or going forward.
Yeah.
Or they may find themselves in a much better backup quarterback situation than they've had for a very, 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 very long time, because they have made a lifetime. In some people's cases, basically the last 35 years or so, they have made a lifetime out of having backup quarterbacks, that went elsewhere and succeeded, and then keeping a guy on staff who wasn't necessarily the guy. But no,
I agree. It's a way better backup situation, but you don't pay Jordan Love the money that they did, and then replace him with Malik Willis.
And Malik Willis doesn't have the physical tools that Jordan Love does, unless you're talking about a straight line sprint. But we're not running the 100-meter dash. So
yeah.
I thought it was a fluke loss last Friday against the Eagles. I thought the Packers should have won that game.
Yeah,
I thought we had it.
They had opportunities. They should have. They probably should have.
I mean, you can't wear your home colors of green down there, so that was a little ridiculous.
Yep.
How dumb is the NFL to go to a stadium where green is banned and send the Eagles and the Packers? Who?
And then to not ensure that it's an NFL caliber playing surface on top of that.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And it was not just the Packers. It was the Philly had just as much problem on that.
Yeah, both teams were going down.
That was ridiculous.
Yep.
I was waiting to see the brown and blue jerseys come out.
Yeah, they both wear the throwbacks just to get away from any problem.
The blue and yellow for the Eagles.
I was waiting to see it. I was like, "Oh, are we going to see these?" Because that would have been the perfect time to bring them out for gang-related situations.
That would have been entertaining.
Yep.
I would have made some money, put a little Brazil patch on there, sell them.
Can't wear green. Let's send our two most successful green main colored franchises.
Yeah.
If they'd have sent the Jets, nobody would have cared.
Good call, Roger Goodell. Way to go.
Exactly.
Way to be on top of that one, Raj.
Yep. Where were you on that one, dipshit?
Guys, do we want to keep going after Jay leaves, or what do we want to do?
I am ready to take large amounts of medication and go to bed, man.
Yeah. I should go.
Chase, you laugh, but I have a tooth that's been killing me for like a week and a half.
Oof, yeah,
I had 3 teeth pulled 2 days before I went and saw Def Leppard.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Literally, ouch. So, 3 times.
I'm ready to be done.
But you got to see Def Leppard.
But I'm glad we were here.
Yeah, no, it was great talking with all you guys.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, Jason, how people get at you?
Well, you guys are going to find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter, which is now called X, at Dodger Jason. Go ahead and please follow me there. Interact with me. Let's talk some ball. Call me stupid. Call me naive. Call me whatever you want. I don't give a rat's ass. But follow me there anyway. That's where you can find me.
And one of these days, Jason will follow me back.
I seriously, I followed you. And for some reason, okay, let me see here. You're at Royals since 1976. Okay, I will literally search for you right now and follow you back. I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark. I thought I typed in Nebraska, and then I was like, wait, why did it go back to Royals? You changed it.
Yeah, I was Nebraska Packer for a while, so that's still my username. But I went back to my at Royals since 76, just because I've been a Royals fan for 48 years, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Nor should it.
Nope.
You're not a White Sox fan, so that's good.
Oh, God.
It can't get that bad. So
that would be embarrassing. The Cubs have won more games against the American League than the White Sox have. Did you know that?
I know, and that's just bizarre.
I saw that statistic yesterday.
While you were talking Satchel Paige, I do have a Satchel Paige jersey, but it isn't near me right now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's in there.
All right.
It has to be in the closet.
Just followed you, Mark. Yeah.
Visual
All
proof.
right. Awesome. Thank you,
there you go.
Awesome. You can find me, like I said, on STT Chase FFB on X Twitter machine, and literally on any fantasy baseball or any fantasy football app you're on. If you see STT Chase FFB, that's me. I don't hide it. I play in public. I'll play against anybody that wants to. So just find me there. Find me on Wednesday nights, like I said, at fantasysportsadvice.network. You can go over there, get yourself an account, and interact with me and everybody else on the network there, and have some fun as well. So
got it.
Awesome.
Good to meet you, gentlemen.
Yep.
You too, Jason.
I am at Talking Sports It on the X. You can find us on Driving to the Top. Yeah, I just noticed the logo wasn't there. I wonder who the fuck took that down. Anyway, it wasn't me. I just noticed it. Anyway,
It was a nice intro you had, though.
yeah, I went back to the original, like one of the original intros. So I just wanted to go throwback because we were talking Packers, and I think I used that last time too. So
I didn't see any of us on it, but that's okay.
I didn't make the video.
Don't shoot the messenger.
I'm just messing with you, buddy.
It's all good.
You were on. You weren't, huh? I thought you were. I know Outdated was on it. I didn't see. That was all football, huh? You guys did baseball, huh? Milwaukee and Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Hey,
We'll have to get on that.
Stay on after we're done, Adam. I got something to mention to you real quick.
All right, cool. But anyway, guys, I thank you all for coming in. Monday
Thank you,
nights
guys.
are open. Monday nights are open. If anybody wants to bullshit on Mondays, I'm open. So,
Okay.
That's my best day.
But hey, guys, thank you all, and have a good night.